Gilbert, obviously, it is OTA season. 20 teams open their OTAs on Monday, and obviously, again, people voluntary. Gilbert, I wanna bring this up to light because Joey Bosa showed up at Chargers camp day one of OTAs. Gilbert, that doesn't typically happen. You cover the team for 4 years. I've been around the team since Joey was drafted. And Joey, except for the first, no, actually, no, not the first year. The second year, Joey showed up for everything. Ever since then, Joey's done his own thing. He works out with his brother Nick down in Florida. We all know it. By the way, he said, if there's not bugs crawling on you and you dripping of sweat before you even start working out, are you really working out? So it was pretty funny to hear him say that. But Gilbert, how big of a deal is it that Joey showed up day one of OTAs?
I was actually thinking about this. Like, didn't he show up last year when I felt like when Khalil Mack got traded, he was excited
He
and
showed
got
up
there
week
early?
two of OTAs.
Ah, okay. So this is a
Yeah.
so you're saying day one of OTAs.
Yep.
It's been a long time. Okay,
Yep.
yeah. There, I don't know. There's something there, maybe because like he knew this team is really good, and after the way it ended last year, he's just itching to get on the field. And when you have such a like terrible loss in the playoff, he's probably like, you know what, let's get back out there and figure this one out because that window is closing for the Chargers, and not for Justin Herbert, but for that nucleus at core. He's thinking like,
Yep.
all right, Matt, Keenan Allen, who knows
Mike
what's gonna happen,
Williams.
Mike Williams. So
Yeah.
this team. That's what we kept saying all off season. Don't expect any big changes. They signed some guy, I think Nick Williams, right? Like you
Yeah.
mentioned, there'll be like a little couple waves here of free agents to be added in the summer. But you got your core group. You're ready to go. And usually I laugh about people keeping track about who's going to be there for voluntary workouts. And like you mentioned, Fernando, it is voluntary and it is phase 2, I think. But it is OTAs, and people like to make a big deal. I laugh. But there is something there about Joey Bosa being there early for the camaraderie.
So why did Joey Bosa show up early? He said Khalil Mack pushes him to be
Oh,
better.
oh,
He said Khalil Mack being there. Khalil Mack. So Gilbert, obviously Khalil Mack, and Khalil Mack has been there all off season. He's worked out at the facility all off season. He's like, I have my Pilates instructor. I know what I want to eat. I have my chef. I have everything I need to do here in LA. So he stayed here. So basically, Gilbert, for Joey and Khalil, this is an offseason where they're going in health. They went in healthy. Joey had the surgery on his groin. He says that he couldn't even bend over to pick up a book sometimes because of how hurt he was. Now he feels great. Same, and Joey actually looked lean. He looked a lot bigger, stronger, but he looked lean when it came to the stomach. Khalil says he feels great. Last season, remember when they traded for him, he was dealing with that foot injury, and he had just had foot surgery, so he was dealing with that. They both feel lean, they feel mean, and they say that they're ready to go this off and tackle this off season. Gilbert and Brandon Staley said it, but I'm gonna throw it to you. Brandon Staley said it is crucial to have both of these guys on here doing what they do. To me, and I think everybody else knows, it is crucial for these guys to be out on the field. But with some of the depth that they lack, how important is it for Joey and Khalil? How much of what this defense does is going to rest on what Joey and Khalil can do?
well, yeah. Like if you lose one of the guys, and you saw a year ago, Fernando, when Joey Bosa went down, like it really hindered what they could do defensively. Like when you have two game breakers on the edges like that, it gives you multiple formations. You could do different things. Being Brandon Staley, who's a very creative defensive coordinator, he lost that for a long stretch, and then when he got back, I know we all remember Joey Bosa being kind of the crazy guy in Jacksonville, or the wild guy, I should say. And he really got annoyed with the refs there. But it's a really different dynamic with both of them. And I know it's so early, it's still whatever, late May, but to have both of those guys being there and then pushing each other, that nugget you mentioned, Fernando, about Khalil Mack, motivating Joey Bosa, because Bosa's been around for a long time. Nobody's been pushing him like that because he pushes himself. He is such a hard
Yeah.
worker. He could do that. His brother is an all pro. He's the reigning defensive player of the year. Why would he leave his brother when he's the best in the game to do it for Khalil Mack? That tells you a lot, and what he means for him as a teammate, and what it means. I keep going back to what it means for this group here, this core group, to finally get it going. So there's something there. I don't want to reach too much in the springtime, but when you mentioned that night about Khalil Mack pushing, I'm like, okay, I like that. And again, I keep going back to that Jacksonville game, and it was kind of like the year before that, the Raider game. Remember Week 18? There's just something
Yep.
about getting that out of your system, and when you're focused and you're all in. Week 1, you come in and give it a big win. Remember last year was against the Raiders at SoFi Stadium. this year against Miami Dolphins. You get it out your system, you get off to a big win, it really leads to a good year.
And go to the Sporting Tribune. I wrote a story about Joey and Khalil about how they both kind of feed off of each other and what the Chargers are expecting from both of them. But I put that Raider game was really the first taste that I feel like fans got of Khalil and of what Khalil and Joey could be. 4 sacks in that game, 3 from Khalil, 1 from Joey. Well, Joey's was more on Devontae Adams when he did that end around, and Joey he was the quarterback, and Joey was able to tackle him in the backfield. Then against Patrick Mahomes, a week later, you get, or it was a couple of days later because it was a Thursday night game. Yeah. You got a little bit more of the sensation. Patrick Mahomes at one point was running around trying to do a lot of different things because he knew he had Joey and Khalil in his face. So that's a little bit of what the sensation that they're going to get. By the way, Gilbert, I asked Khalil Mack, hey, you guys just drafted Tuli Tuepolu. Sorry, I hope I didn't butcher that too much. But I was like, what have you thought about him? He's like, man, he's quiet. And for Khalil Mack to say somebody's quiet, that must mean he's quiet. But he's like, he makes me feel old, dude. He's 20 years old. He's like, he's young. He's aggressive. He's like, he picks up things very fast. And Gilbert, him and Quentin Johnson were both practicing with the 1s and the 2s, which doesn't mean anything because Mike Williams, Josh Palmer, they weren't there today, or they weren't there on Monday. But still, it just, and I'm not trying to put anything towards it, but Tuli's already getting work with Joey and with Khalil, so that's a big deal for them. But Gilbert, Austin Ekeler, Brandon Staley said he expects Austin Ekeler to be there when minicamp comes on June 3rd, 12th or 13th. He expects Austin Ekeler present June 13th and 14th. Do you expect Austin Ekeler there June 13th?
I think so, because like we've seen this this offseason, there has been movement with running backs, and either get traded or you get franchise tag, whatever it is. There's teams willing to keep you, and nobody's really going after Austin Ekeler. But by now we've been saying it, and I'm not trying to say we know what's going on in the front office, but I think the Chargers had a price. If it doesn't go past a 4th round pick, they're not going to listen because he's too valuable. It's a weird thing where like you hold something because it's too valuable for you. It's good for you, but it's not. Doesn't carry the same weight on the outside, and I think that's what the Chargers found out, or at least Austin Ekeler found out, because they told him it. They told his agent, go and test it out, go figure it out. And then you see guys like DeAndre Swift get moved, and then you have Dalvin Cook potentially being available. People are probably waiting for Dalvin Cook. So I know Austin Ekeler, he's a confident guy, he thinks very highly of himself, but I think it must have been a little humbling to realize, okay, it's harder than I expected, and it's also again a little surprising because he knew the Melvin Gordon situation. And I'm going to just give him the benefit of the doubt. He tried. He took a swing, but you can't drag it on during training camp. Yeah, there's no more holdouts. There's hold-ins, but those are still valuable times that you want to get the reps in, get the body going. And maybe for a veteran guy like that, he doesn't need all the reps there. But I've seen too many times players that come in too rusty when they don't have at least a couple of weeks of training camp.
Swinging and missing like the Padres currently are right now. So obviously, man, I think June 1st is going to be a little bit nuts. I think it's going to be a little bit crazier than what people expect. I think there could be, because I feel like that's what they're waiting for with Dalvin Cook and with some of these other guys, is that June 1st designation. But I think it's going to be interesting to see what kind of movement we see. Brandon says he expects Austin to be there. I think Austin has been a professional through and through when it comes to his career and the way he's been. But I'll say he shows up. I think Austin also sees the talent on the field. He knows the talent that the team has. And obviously right now, and they're just in shorts and helmets, but I think right now it gives the Charger a good chance to see other guys and see how, and obviously, I feel like right now it's kind of like the DMV, when you go take your driving test, you think that, as soon as you get in the car and you put on your seatbelt, they're testing you, and they test you all the way until you get back to the DMV and turn off your vehicle. I think that's how they're testing these guys right now. Even though they're in shorts and helmets, I think guys are getting tested, and they're looking to see what kind of value they see in each of them. So I think it's going to be very interesting. But yeah, that's mainly what some of the things. Oh, Justin Herbert's contract. Joey Bosa said he may give some advice to Justin Herbert over the contract. When he was asked, Gilbert, have you given Nick any advice? He said no comment. on Nick because Nick Bosa's about to be he's about to make the bag. So he said no comment on that one. For the Justin Herbert one, he said, yeah, I'll give him some advice. We'll talk about it in the next couple of days. So what do you make of that?
That's interesting. He's kind of getting it from both sides, from a teammate and then his brother. And I was
Yeah.
actually thinking about it because I was looking at Quinnen Williams' dilemma. He was also in 2019 draft #3, Nick
Yep.
Bosa #2, and I'm like, how are these two guys? How they not getting paid yet? I think Quinnen Williams he was taking longer to develop, but Nick Bosa's been a star from day one. I know he lost most of year 2. Maybe that could be it. Or Nick Bosa's such a smart guy. He knows his brother. The longer you wait, just wait a little longer, the more you'll break the bank. And maybe the Bosa brother giving Justin Herbert some advice like, hey, wait a little longer. Just keep going, and then you'll break the bank. Because one thing I've noticed too, Fernando, when Joe Burrow spoke to the media last week, he just seemed very like cool and calm, and collected, and kept saying, I have a plan. We're working towards that. It's almost done. And it just, to me, it sounded like we're waiting on Justin Herbert to get his contract so we can see the numbers and go higher. That's the only thing I thought. I think the structure is there. So I think everybody's waiting on Justin Herbert. So it could be an interesting dynamic. And I really think they're going to get it done in training camp. And if they don't do it in training camp or before, it will be a big blunder for the franchise, I think, at least.
It seems like all eyes are on Justin Herbert, Joe Burrow, Patrick Mahomes. Remember, what did it come out that Patrick Mahomes is going to be restructuring that deal that he has? They're going to be doing some. Yeah, exactly. I told you guys as soon as Justin and Joe sign on the dotted line, Patrick Mahomes is next. But Chris Jones came out from the Chiefs and said, I want to be the top 2 or 3 paid. So I think he's waiting for Quinnen Williams to make his money, and then he's gonna. So hey, it's all a domino effect. That's how we see it. Nick is the reigning defensive player of the year, right?
Yeah, he won it last year.
And they don't have a quarterback that they need to pay a lot of money to. So Nick Bosa could be like, hey, I'm your guys' quarterback. Like, pay me that kind of money. So very interesting stuff, Gilbert, from both sides of it. Don't forget to follow everything. Compas on the Beat, compasonthebeatmerch.com, compasonthebeat.com. Don't forget to check out Compas on the Beat this week and everything else on the network.